So I got a book review today, and I'm going to spoil the crap out of this book because none of you should read it. It's not good. Well, let's break it down. This is The Doomed Oasis by Hammond. In this book, we have a lawyer from Cardiff, Cardiff in Wales. I don't know if there's another, doesn't matter. And at the beginning of the book, he gets a phone call from this middle-aged woman. She's freaking out. She's like, oh, you're the one that's been sending me those payments. I don't know any other lawyer. Please come help me. So he shows up to her house in like the slums. Son is there like in catatonic rage, just not moving. Her husband has a blanket on him. He's just not moving. And the wife is freaking out. Well, the son found out that he was illegitimate and that the man who had raised him, that his mom was married to, treated him like crap. And as soon as he figured this out, he just blew up on him and they got into a big fight and the husband had a stroke. Now, we're talking about Wales in 1960. So this dude was an alcoholic. They talk about it in the book. And then he probably smoked 2 or 3 packs a day. So he was going to have a stroke no matter what. He was probably going to have one next time he sat on the toilet. That doesn't really carry water when you've got the ruffian teenage son. He's like 19, and so he has to hide because the cops are going to get him. Well, the lawyer's like, what do you want me to do? I can try to help you, blah blah blah. And the whole story is like revolving around the son wanting to kill his actual father for abandoning his mother who worshipped him and stuff like that. It's kind of weird. Right now we're in the best part of the book, so it's all downhill from here. The lawyer's like, let me help you. And the teenager's like, no, go away. And the mom is nuts. So he just goes, well, I can't do anything, so I'm going to leave. Don't make it any worse for you. That's all the advice I can give since you won't listen. And so he leaves and he sees the cops showing up as he's driving off. So that evening he's finishing the stuff in his law office, which the main character got his law office from his uncle. His uncle passed away and he inherited it. And the reason he took the law office was because he was a lawyer, but after he finished law school, he just went and tried a bunch of different schemes to make money, and I guess his llama farm failed or something. He had to have a real job. He's doing all this law office work, and his assistant, I don't know, old man paralegal or something, whatever this dude is, just a crotchety old dude that worked for the uncle, who seems like he's more harm than good, other than the fact that he just knows where everything is in the office, which this character never comes up again, so it's like, why are you here? But they kind of squabble back and forth. The lawyer is just interested in the story because the son's illegitimate, and he figures out that there have been like payments every month to the woman from the biological father. And the lawyer's like, well, where are they coming from? Who is this dude? Oh, he's Colonel Whitaker. He's a legend. And it's like, well, I don't know anything about him. How's he a legend? They're like, he was always in the newspapers. And the lawyer's like, I've never heard of him. And I was just thinking like, what? If he's such a legend, why does no one know about him? They're like, well, he published a book in 1939 and it was printed once and no one's read it and you can't get a copy. And then a quick aside, later on, the lawyer goes back to the home of the mother after the son is gone. And he's like, hey, I'm really interested in that book that Colonel Whitaker wrote and your son has a copy. Can I borrow it? And she's like, no. And the lawyer's like, okay. And then he leaves. And I'm just like, what? Why did this happen? The lawyer is like squabbling with his retiree paralegal troll. That's like the only thing he should be called. He's barely there. He's like, hey, like, where's the files on Colonel Whitaker? We don't have any. What do you mean you don't have any? You have a document where you withdraw money every month from a bank account and give it to this woman. How do we not have it? He's like, oh, it's in there somewhere, I think, maybe. I don't know. There's no address for him, so you won't be able to find him and write him a letter. And he said not to contact him anyways. So there's all these roadblocks, and they're like, really? They're just so obvious in a way that I would expect a writer to, kind of hide them a little. It's like a magician. A lot of the time we know how the magic tricks work, but what makes it fun is the show the magician puts on. Well, the show this author's putting on isn't very good, and we see how the plotting is working. I just forgot something very important. This whole book is a flashback. Yep, it's one of those. So the beginning is the lawyer sitting on the stand on a trial where he's going to ruin the defendant's life by telling the truth, whatever that means, because it doesn't tell you who is the defendant, but you can guess very early on. That's the other thing, is a lot of this book is super predictable. Let's get back to where we were. After that whole affair, the lawyer is like wrapping things up after his paralegal troll has left for the day. And right as he's going to leave, because he has to take these files to this captain on a boat in the port, because the captain bought some land because he wants to retire to somewhere that's not a ship. He said he feels like the wandering Jew, which, okay. As he's leaving, he hears glass break in the back of his office. So he sneaks back in and he finds the son there, rifling through the files, trying to find Colonel Whitaker's address, and that is the biological father. The lawyer's like, it's not here. I already tried to find it. Don't waste your time. You look like crap, because the kid escaped from the police. He like jumped out of the car and just like took off through the slums of Cardiff. The cops couldn't find him because that's his turf. The lawyer basically convinces the kid to let him help him, and he sneaks him onto the boat that the captain's on, and the kid goes in with the paperwork and is like, oh, the lawyer told me to deliver it to you. And there's this whole rigmarole, and the captain's like, bro, you're lying. But but I'm gonna let you stay on my ship anyways. He does a whole stowaway thing. He goes to Arabia. You start to get these kind of cool little vibes. There's some very interesting descriptive prose about Arabia, but other than that, it's all bad. Time goes on. The captain of the ship delivers this letter. He opens it, and it basically says, "Dear lawyer, if you're reading this, I'm dead," and it's the son. And it says, "Now, what I need you to do as the executor of my estate," which, when did that happen? Oh, it didn't. But the lawyer is just too curious to let it die. He has this packet from the dude, and it's like, you got to go to this guy and let him read this letter, and then he has to sign this contract, and if he does, then you can give him this packet with this information, but you can't open it or look at it, and neither can he until he signs the paperwork. And it's just a convoluted mess, and the lawyer's just like, okay, cool. Looks like I'm going to Saudi Arabia from Wales in 1960. You know, short little trip. He ends up getting to Saudi Arabia, and he gets stonewalled by the company the kid worked for. He gets stonewalled by the local government because they're basically owned by the oil company that the kid worked for. And it's just these very obvious blocks to the lawyer getting his job done so that the story can fill out 200 and whatever pages. And at this point, I was just like, man, this is boring. I don't care. But I wanted to finish it because no one's read this in 60 years. On Goodreads, it was like 24 reviews and then like 320 something ratings or something. So I wanted to finish this so we could talk about it, and here we are, me complaining. The rest of the story goes, he gets dropped off in the desert. They get attacked by like desert Arabs. I don't know. It's not very well described. The whole political conflict that he's trying to have go on here when it comes to territory and who owns places where there might or might not be oil doesn't work very well when you're using like fictional autonomous zones where their location is not described very well in the book, and actual places like Saudi Arabia. I don't know if this is somewhere on the border of like UAE and Saudi Arabia or what. I know at one point he mentions Dubai, and Dubai at this point in 1960, I don't know if you've ever seen it, but it ain't like it is today. The locations aren't very good here. The desert vibes are kind of cool, and then a lot of the Arabs in the book is just dumb foreigners, which I guess I should have expected from someone that was still living under the British Empire. At one point, a character in the book is like, "This ain't the British Raj like you think it is," or something ridiculous like that. And it's like, okay, yeah, the British power is not as strong here, so this guy can't get away with a lot. The book ends up just dragging on, and it ends up having to do with the kid holding out or getting into like a gunfight or something, trying to defend something because he needs to drill for oil so that he can then drill for water so that this little middle of nowhere nothing village in the desert doesn't die. They used to have all these Persian aqueducts, and they've slowly been destroyed, and there's only like 5 left, and this village is dying because of it. So he needs to go on to literally the little border of this nation to drill where it might not be on the right side of the border because he needs to get some oil so he can get some water. And it ends up going to trial. I think they blame him for killing his dad or something. It was just so convoluted by the end. I just didn't care. I just powered through it just to see if it got better, and it didn't. At the very end, the son doesn't get in trouble because there's this whole trial scene and stuff. And then you get this epilogue that is the son writing to the lawyer, and he's like, yeah, I'm marrying that Algerian prostitute that you made friends with that was my girlfriend or something, and they've accepted me as like the Arabian hero, you know, white man's burden and all that. So it was just bad. I don't regret reading this because, one, it was just cool, and I was judging a book by its cover, and there weren't a lot of reviews on Goodreads. Now I understand why, and the reviews that are on there are very mid. And I did get these really cool little samplers for book club edition romance stuff, and I'm probably going to keep these, but I'm ditching this book for a couple reasons. One, if I ever want to read it again, I have a digital copy. I started reading it on my Kobo, review soon for the Kobo Libra Color, so I don't need this, and I think some other people might appreciate it more than me, probably people born before World War II if they're still buying used books. But beyond that, I don't know. Let me know in the comments if you've read any weird books that no one else has read since 1960. Thanks for watching, and with that, I'll see you next time.